Hi guys, my name's Timothy Fairmatthews, Sony MEA Ambassador, and welcome to the podcast. This is episode 4, and it's a great privilege to be here today with Jacques Crafford. Nice to meet you, mate.
Same to you, man.
Seen your work for years, and it's nice to have a chance to sit across the table and talk to you about filmmaking. It should be fun today.
Likewise, man. It's a privilege to be here with you. I'm really happy that you have the opportunity to be here with us.
Amazing. So just a bit about myself. So Timothy Fairmatthews, I'm a production house owner in Dubai. I've been a Sony MEA Ambassador for about 5 years now. And I'm here actually in South Africa currently. We've just done a pretty cool production with McLaren and Gulf Oil, which we'll talk about. And in conjunction with me wearing many hats as a DP producer and business owner, I also help a lot of filmmakers scale in their careers, and I focus more on the business side of things. Don't claim to be a very super talented DP, but I'm obviously fascinated with filmmaking and try to do the best I can. Nothing compared to your level, mate. You are sensationally great, much greater than me in terms of the filmmaking. So thanks, feel free to introduce yourself as well to the viewers in case anyone doesn't know. They should know, but
thanks, Tim. I really appreciate the vote of confidence. I'm a passion creative. I started doing this out of passion. I'm a mix of filmmaker / YouTuber. That's basically what I'd never ever want to be labeled as a YouTuber, because I feel like there's a stigma to that. But I did transform my business. A big part of that is coming from YouTube on that platform. But I am still a filmmaker by heart. I love to service clients. I love to tell stories. I'm actually doing that in 2 ways. I'm doing it by servicing clients and on YouTube. But the core is still, I want to tell stories. I want to make films. So I don't ever want to be just in one pocket or wearing one hat. So I love the fact that I still have those 2 paths open.
Your YouTube stuff is more giving value and educating and helping.
Yes, it is. But I would love to elaborate about that, because a lot of people misunderstand. One of the reasons why I do YouTube now is because the clients on YouTube enable me to be creative and freely make what I want to make. And the way they pay me is by me making a tutorial about how I did it. But it's a means to an end for me. I'm getting paid. That's great. We all work for money. But I'm also able to express my creativity without any boundaries. None of my clients, I can honestly say for the last 3 years, none of my clients on YouTube ever dictate how I must do my videos creatively.
Right.
So there's always some kind of film. We choose the concept, we choose the story, we film it, we do the editing, we send it to them. They're like, "Oh, we love it. Can you change the logo?"
It's like a dream, right?
It's so that's one of the reasons why
you've carved your own market, which is great.
Yeah, I'm grateful for that.
Okay, so I've got a question for you. Why filmmaking? Out of all the jobs and ways to make money, we all know filmmaking can be challenging, and it's probably not the easiest way to make money. Why did you decide to choose that as a profession?
So filmmaking, my journey started actually at university. I went and studied BCom risk management. So it's like business stuff. A lot of economics, business studies, stuff like accounting, managerial accounting. I always have been a creative by heart, but I didn't know it. So I was one of those people that felt like I was out of place in school. You know, everyone's doing accounting and maths, and I just didn't click for me. Even though I didn't do bad, I just hated it. And I went to, without any, super ignorant, went to university because my parents, sent me there and this is probably a good course for you. And I was a really bad student. Like I really hated going to class. I hated studying for tests. So I just sort of scraped over the line, just barely making it every year. I didn't do great. I was not a model student at all. And for many years, I thought I was a bad person. Like, I'm just bad, I'm just
in the wrong
bad.
Place.
Yeah. And I was actually just the wrong fish in the wrong pond, fish trying to climb a tree, something like that. When I discovered filmmaking, it was in my final year of finishing my degree. I went on a cycling trip with my res hostel, and basically my friend put his dad's video camera in my hand, like this old it's a Sony Handycam actually. And he asked me to film some clips, and I actually said, no, why should I do it? I was hesitant about it. Like, I don't want to do that, it's like extra effort, let someone else do it. But he really asked nice, and I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I remember there was this moment where I picked up the camera like this, And all of a sudden, it was so captivating, like seeing everything through the screen and trying to get like a good angle. And I just filmed that whole trip. And they kept telling me, dude, like, you're killing the battery. Like, we still need to get through today. And I just loved it. So I couldn't put it down. After that trip, I went to home and I edited a video. I literally downloaded software like Power Director or something like that.
I learned on Movie Maker, so
yeah. So
exactly
I downloaded some of those free software. I edited for 2 days straight without sleeping. I was loving it, every second of it.
Wow.
I made a video, and everyone at the hostel, the rest, they loved it too. And then I didn't know this is the thing, but I then started making videos that entire year in my final year, purely out of fun. By the closer to the end of the year, I started making films for campus. Like, they paid me to make videos. And when I wrote my last paper, I remember I put my pen down as I put it. Dude, it sounds like a movie, but it was like this. I put my pen down, and it's like, I just heard in my heart, like, you're going to be a filmmaker. This is what you're going to do.
Nice.
And I walked out of there and I was so stoked. I told everyone told me, you're crazy, man. Like,
back then it wasn't a profession really, was it?
No. For many people, it was like this out there thing, especially my parents. Like, you can imagine how stoked my parents were when I told them. They were really, really against it a lot. My mom was more supportive, but I just loved it so much that I was persuaded that the passion that I have for this thing will carry me through to get where I need to get to make a living out of it.
Amazing.
And from there, I just started, every odd job that I could. I didn't get a job at a production company. I actually asked a lot of production companies. They just said no because I had no experience.
Of course.
I had nothing. I sent in my clips, but they were terrible. So if looking back at it now, I wouldn't have given myself a chance. But I started weddings. That was actually my first like proper entry into like making money as a business person. Very quickly fell into that wedding game where that's the only thing you end up doing because there's always work. You get so many inquiries for it. I did that for 6 years, man.
Oh, wow.
6 years. But by year 3, I was actually really enjoying it and I was making good money. At least for me as a sort of new business person in a business world, and my parents, like, I could actually show this is what I'm making. And they were stoked. They were like, wow, that's great, you know? So yeah, that's the short of it. I fell into the wedding industry. From there on, I went into the travel game, which is a whole long story by itself. And eventually transitioned into more commercial and more YouTube stuff. But the love for filmmaking was really like born out of this absolute place of I'm in the wrong place. I'm not supposed to be there. And ever since I chose this career, I've never, ever, ever considered something else.
You're unemployable.
Yeah. I probably will never be able to do something else. So what I do want to say by that is I also believe that we can adapt. Like, I could have said maybe I'm going to be a wedding filmmaker forever, or I'm going to be at this. And now I really believe that nothing is set. Like, I'll probably always be a filmmaker. Maybe I'll be a director someday. Maybe I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm open to, as long as I'm in that industry, I'm happy.
So Jacques, so tell me about your expectations with filmmaking going into this industry and how you think it changed, or maybe reaffirmed. I mean, tell me how it's developed over the years.
I think going into being a full-time filmmaker, whether you're working for someone or whether you're self-employed, freelancer, going to your own thing, no one tells you how difficult it is. You definitely don't do something like this because you want to make money. You can make a lot of money. And if you really love it and if you're really serious about it, you'll probably end up making a lot of money if you learn to equip yourself in the business sense as well. But no one tells you how hard it is. So it took me, I was humbled so many times as a young filmmaker or a videographer. I didn't even call myself a filmmaker back then. I was just a video guy, doing videos. There's this graph. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect or the Dunning-Kruger curve.
No, I've not. Tell me about it.
It's amazing. It talks about, on the one line, you have your actual ability or your perceived ability. And on this line, you have your actual ability. And a lot of people, when they start out, they spike up. So they think their perceived ability is really high. but their actual ability is just a little bit. So that's why, they say dumb people think they're smart because they don't know what they don't know. And I went through that thing multiple times, because just when you think you're good, I'm so good at these weddings, look at my wedding. All my clients are praising my work. Everyone wants to work with me on weddings. I'm making money on this. You have to go do something where you actually need to plan it. You're not just documenting. You have to set up a light. You realize how difficult it is. And then you fall down. They call it Mount Stupid at the top.
So you crash.
You crash all the way down to the Valley of Despair. And then
I have heard about this. Yeah,
you slowly climb back
and that's
up.
People get stuck, isn't it? They fall off then.
Yeah. So as you climb up, you slowly, your perceived ability and your actual ability starts meeting each other, and then you start feeling confident in what you do.
If you make it that far.
If you make that far.
And that's where the magic happens after that.
Exactly. So I've gone through multiple parts like that where I was humbled so many times. And I keep telling people this right now. Every time I shoot a film at the moment, I say this to the people on set. Man, filmmaking is hard, because I know more now than I knew 2 months ago or 6 months ago. And because I know this, I know what I need to do to actually get it right. And all of a sudden it's harder because I need more equipment. I need more crew, all those little things.
You see things with more light on it.
Exactly.
I treat it like a room. Like the more you go through life, the more windows are open, allowing more light into the room, and you realize how big the room is. And
exactly.
It's infinite.
Exactly.
To be honest. So that's why you can never stop learning, and you can always learn something from someone. I mean, I learn things even from my students, because there's a different perspective, or a different way to do something. You're right. There's new equipment and there's new, easier ways to get it. And I get it. So it's same as you, like we were doing a commercial the other week, and throughout the entire, the whole team was with me. Herman was with me, sat over there. He was hearing me vent about, I wish we could have done this, or we needed an extra hour here. We should have done that. And I think that's what keeps you good. It keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
You've got to be constantly thinking, how can I improve, right?
Yeah.
The
there's a fine line in believing in your ability or being confident, and 100% just staying grounded and saying, hey, let's stay humble here. Like this, I'm not the best. So my goal in this life, in this industry, is I always surround myself with people who are better than me. Just when I think I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm like, oh my word, I'm in the wrong room. Like that's how I feel at the moment.
Well, your environment dictates your performance, right? So you want to surround yourself in an environment that's healthy, non-toxic. You need individuals that you look up to.
Yes.
And then that aspiration keeps you driven, keeps you grounded, as you say, keeps you learning.
Yeah.
And it's it should be not a vicious cycle, a positive cycle. Because if you're with the wrong people and you're in the wrong industry and the wrong environment and the wrong country, try and change that,
Exactly.
So completely.
If I can give you a practical example, something that just came to me now. I lived in a small coastal town called Jeffreys Bay. It's a surfing town. I don't know if you know anything about that, but 5 years I stayed there. And within those 5 years, I literally grew my business to the ceiling where I just couldn't grow anymore. And I was, without even being arrogant, I was the smartest kid in the room. Like I knew everything about filmmaking in that town. No one else could tell me anything, and I was the guy. And I thought I was clever, but I started feeling that frustration of I'm hitting the ceiling the whole time. Like I'm not growing, I'm not getting anywhere. So I moved to Cape Town. When I got there overnight, it's like going from middle school to high school. Like you are one of the small kids, and there's all these big.
Well, you were a big fish in a small pond.
Exactly.
And now you've become that same size fish in an even larger pond, right?
But that's exactly what I needed. I got overnight, I was humbled, and I loved it. I loved that feeling of feeling not good at, I'm not that great. It's a good feeling. You can have confidence in certain things, but it really makes me go into jobs and projects. I feel like people can sense that also, even if you deal with clients. There's a difference of being overconfident and cocky and just saying, hey, we're going to create something awesome. We're going to do this. But everyone on set can feel that you're humble and you don't elevate yourself. So what I mean by that is the way you speak to the assistant who grabs coffee, runner, a loader, and the way you speak to the director has to be the same.
I agree with you.
They have to be the same.
I always say this.
I don't want to sound...
Because you don't know who you're going to meet on the way down.
I don't want to sound too harsh when I say this, but I actually judge people by the way they treat someone lower. Like I really do. On
But
set,
I also
everywhere,
agree
like,
that if someone mucks up, you also treat them like an equal. Like, I mean, there's been times where my business partner's told me off and I've told him off, and I've also told off other crew, but I think that's different. But in terms of respect and how you hold yourself on set, that needs to stay consistent, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it was a good learning exercise being here because, you know, we had a lot of people compliment how my team worked because I was working with a really nice range of professionals from here on this big production. And a lot of people were, because we swapped many hats. I was directing 1 minute and then I was helping the grips rig the camera and I was picking the frame and then I was speaking to the AD and trying to do things. And it's like, they're just, again, I can't speak for the whole industry here, but there were a lot of people that were just stuck in their lane and they're like, it's weird seeing a crew so human with everything. And I think it was really nice to hear that sort of feedback and people reaffirming that they appreciated the respect across the whole team. That was really, really good. So it's nice to see that obviously is the case with yourself as well.
Yeah, thanks, man. That's really cool.
I do have a question though. So with regards to, because this is, I find a bit of a paradox. We as filmmakers always know we can do an asset better. There's probably videos out there on the internet that people absolutely adore that you've made, but you look at it and go, I know that was 60% of what it could have been, or 80% of what it could have been, or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a single piece that I've produced that I think 100% that's awesome. So is that unrealistic, and are we chasing something, or is that healthy, or is it necessary because that kind of dictates the fact that we need to be always aspiring to be better? Like I don't know how to view that because I always struggle with it because I'm never 100% satisfied. So it's like that chasing element, isn't it? As human beings, we always want the grass is always greener. So like, how do you juggle that?
I think I'm definitely in the same boat as you. I honestly don't ever feel that way ever 100% about a thing. There's always going to be like, if I just had 10 minutes more sunlight, if I just did this, if I just did that, even in the edit sometimes you see that afterwards. I honestly believe it's a good thing. It's for me, it's the one thing that keeps pushing me higher, further, to be better. Because just like with the Dunning-Kruger that I explained earlier, just when you implement those on the next project, the mistakes that you made or the things that you could have done better, there's a new thing that you just discovered or a new horizon or something. At the end of the day, there has to be some satisfaction. I mean, I want to watch my own video and just feel something. But I never have that final affirmation of feeling this is perfect, 10 out of 10. Like some projects I've had where I feel like I don't want to put this out because it's not what I feel that I can do right now. But the feedback, everyone's is great. Everyone's giving great feedback, and it's just silently have this, conflict. So
it's like an imposter syndrome in a way.
Yeah,
it's very normal.
That's a part. But most of the projects that I do now, I know the mistakes. I know it could have been better. Some of those, we need to know that some of those mistakes are out of our control. And if that's it, I'm like, okay, cool. If someone is going to be hypercritical and, I couldn't have changed it, that's fine. But I feel it's really important to feel that you can do better when the thing goes live. There has to be the knowledge of, I can do better than this. I could have done better.
Yeah, sure.
I need that.
So in summary, it's impossible to remove the feeling, be at peace with it, and it's necessary for growth.
I don't think it's possible.
Yeah. So Jacques, where do you feel anyone new getting into the industry, whether it be young or old, what is the future of filmmaking? Where do you think it's going?
Yeah, it's a multifaceted answer. I would say the first thing is, let's start here. Cameras are no longer an excuse. Honestly, lenses, don't blame the lens, don't blame the camera. So let's just put that out of the way. Lights, no. If you know how to do lighting, it can make a difference. But let's say you have all of those boxes tick. You have the best lighting, you have the best cameras, big set design, all of that. The only thing that will always distinguish filmmakers from the other will be story. If someone feels something from watching your whatever they watch. So just from a creative point of view, if you ever just want to focus on one important aspect, it would be to be the best possible storyteller. Even if you're not that person, if you do all the other stuff well and you get someone who's good at that. But I feel like we're at that stage now where we've reached a ceiling in what gear can do for you. Honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
Gear can only do this much. The rest is all story, marketing, branding, business. So what's going to differentiate any filmmaker now is how are you utilizing the power of storytelling and how are you monetizing on that as a business. The rest is all just mumbo jumbo. Gear is just, it's I hope it's making sense.
Yeah, so you're focusing on the message inside it and the strategy behind that message.
Yes.
Because you could create an awesome story and a brand story video for a client and it could do exactly what it needs to do in terms of conveying that message. But if the strategy is wrong, then the asset's worthless as well. So I would add to this and say, I agree completely, but I feel one of the biggest gaps, and I feel that the way the industry is going is that there is going to be a new realm of filmmakers that are more strategic,
yes,
and are less, like you say, focused on the creative element. They're going to be more aware of how these digital assets serve their customers. And obviously we're talking from a commercial sense here, but it's arguably the same for feature because they're still assets. They're an entertainment asset. Obviously there's a money mechanism behind it. If it's a better story and it's distributed correctly and it's produced correctly and you've got the right EPs involved and you produce it in the right way, that has a more higher chance of delivering ROI, which then franchises exist, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So theoretically, I feel like, that's where it should be going. It's not about the kit anymore. It's about how you put prep into it.
If I can add to that, that's very, very valuable. And I fully agree with what you're saying. If I can add to that, strategy is so important for what I do now that I can never just rely on my filmmaking skills and my creative skills or even business, the way I deal with clients. My strategy on YouTube is crucial to actually getting my stuff out there. And I have a strategy.
Do you mind sharing a bit of your strategy?
Yeah, definitely. When I started taking YouTube seriously and saying, okay, I want to monetize on this. This is how I'm going to grow my business while having fun, while adding value. I need a strategy. So I always say, if you want to do something, because being a YouTuber is not new. I started late. Like I actually came to the party late. A lot of people told me, dude, I don't know if you should like put in all your energy in this, Wow. People's been doing this for a while. You're pretty late to the game, I believe whenever you come late to the party or you come to a saturated market, the only way to stand out is to do something different. And how I thought to do that is look at what everyone's doing and look at the gaps, look at the holes and solve that problem. So that's what I did. I was a consumer of YouTube content for many years, and now all of a sudden I'm a creator. So I wrote down a list. I'm like, what annoys me about YouTube? What I don't like? How am I going to address these issues? So like small things are like, I felt like a lot of YouTubers were wasting my time with unnecessary ramble in between and little like intros in the beginning. Just get to the point. Just get to the point. So I said, okay, my strategy is going to be this. I'm going to start with straight to the point tutorials. I'll keep it that way. But in the beginning, I'll keep them short to get people to buy into my like personality, get into. So I kept in 5 minutes. It's a quick one. I'll pack it so full of value. I don't even talk about myself that people really just started subscribing because of that. That was my strategy. There's a lot more to it, But the strategy was solid. And it started paying off immediately. I was growing much faster than a lot of the guys on there. And actually, it's so crazy, not that I measure it like that, but the people that I was looking up to, I've surpassed a few of them. I'm at the same level as them in terms of counts, if numbers even matter, which is crazy because my strategy worked. I looked at all the things I didn't like. I fixed it. Implemented it. And even now, I'm realizing that my current strategy is not working as great. And now I'm pivoting. So I'm going to try new things.
Someone that maybe is just starting a YouTube channel, realistically, what should they expect and what should be the driving force? Because I imagine even what you did, even though you were doing things correctly, you were playing a long game.
Yeah.
Because you're benefiting from the fruits of what you did.
Yeah.
But I imagine it took a lot of graft and time and energy. So is it something that people should expect could be quite a quick win? Or do you think it's more of a long game and a habit? Like what's your view on the approach to producing content on YouTube?
Yeah, that can go many ways. I would say the biggest mistake any YouTuber or channel makes when they do YouTube videos is you have to remember that no one goes on YouTube saying, I want to learn about this guy. They ask, what can I get from this? That's the same. When I go on YouTube, you have this internal
It's selfish. You're right.
desire. What am I getting out of this? So when you have a thumbnail that promises something and a title that feels enticing to the viewer and he clicks on it, if he's not getting that within the first 30 seconds to a minute, he's going to leave. But also, if he watches the whole video and he didn't get it, he's not coming back. So YouTube is a selfless thing where you actually think of the viewer. I'm here to give value. And it's such an amazing thing because you give value, you give unconditional value, and over time, it just comes back to you. It's crazy. It just comes back to you.
Well, that's life.
Yeah.
You go to networking events and you have the approach of, and I teach the strategy, go to networking events not to get business, go to pitch appointments and go to learn people and how you can help them.
Go make friends.
Exactly, because you go to someone, do you need a video? I mean, that's a terrible way. That's like going up to a girl and saying, do you want to marry me?
Exactly.
Like date, get to know her. She may not even like you. You might not even be what she's looking for. And it's the same with clients. Like you don't know if you can serve them.
Yeah.
But if you go with the selfless, how can I help you? How can I fix an appointment with you?
Yeah.
How do we get to know each other? It's 10 times more successful.
Yeah.
So that's the same sort of strategy, basically, just in a different form, different platform.
That's exactly, man. I'm so passionate about the thing you just mentioned now. In one of my recent videos, I actually spoke about that for like a few minutes. But I am here today. I'm sitting in this chair talking to you, not because I'm the best filmmaker. I'm sitting here because I had a very big value on networking. I always made it my point to make friends with people in the industry. And I'm not saying suppliers, I'm saying your competitors. My biggest opportunities, and not just that I got, but that I've given to people, was to competitors, to and from competitors, because they became friends. The moment things become personal, it changes everything. When a guy is your competitor right here on the same level and you're mates, it just changes the dynamic so quickly. There's this flow of give and take. And I know sometimes people might get disappointed. I've had some disappointments, but I've always had more reward and more. I really believe in the principle with everything my whole being sitting in. It's changed everything for me. All my best opportunities, from being a Sony ambassador, from being a YouTuber, everything came from
it compounds out of the effort you put in the beginning.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
and that's why that humble mindset is so important. Be humble, make friends. If I can give one tip of advice, something that I can give to younger filmmakers is, someone once said this line and it really stuck with me. They said there's enough sunshine for everyone. If you have that mindset, it frees you of becoming like overprotective of, I can't share this with this guy, he's gonna have an edge over me, he's gonna steal clients.
There's enough work out there for everyone.
There's enough sunshine for everyone. There's enough work out there for everyone. It might change in the future, we'll talk about that, but I've built my entire career on this mindset of saying there's enough sunshine for everyone. So let's just be friends, try and get along, learn from each other, and get work from each other.
Amazing.
Yeah,
completely amazing. So Jacques, what would you do if you had the opportunity to give yourself advice 10 years ago? What would you do? Anything different? Would you say anything, or would you disrupt your journey as you've lived it? Like, what could you share if you could?
Yeah, I would definitely do a lot of things different. I know I could have saved myself maybe 5 years if I knew this.
Wow. Okay.
So hopefully what I'm about to share will save someone else a year or 2 or 3 or 5. There's a lot of things. So the first thing that comes to mind if I think about what I did wrong, because that's the advice I want to go. What's the mistakes that I made and what I would do differently? The first would have been more business minded from the start. Like, obviously I started this being a creative. I just wanted to enjoy it, have fun, make stuff that I like, and it's great. But there were a lot of pitfalls that came along the way that stole from me as a business, that prolonged the journey for me to become more successful. One of the things were my addiction to gear. Like, I always needed the newest gear, so I would just swap out the old ones. Where actually a guy I knew, who was also one of those industry competitor friends who became a friend, he just stuck with the old gear and he was pocketing. And looking back later, I realized that I could have done the same.
And the thing is, I was talking about this with my producers. The last time we've been asked 3 or 4 times in 10 years by the client, even agencies, that they want to use certain type of gear. 9 times out of 10, they use what we bring on set. And I'm talking from like a commercial aspect, but I don't know whether that's the same for you. They don't care. They care more about it's like the dish. They care about how the dish tastes in the end. They don't care on the method or the tools in the kitchen.
No.
So would you say it's the same for you? Do you have clients dictating to you what you should be bringing?
Never,
a client's not going to say to me, "Oh, you got the 50mm 1.4. I wanted the 1.2."
No, never. No, never. Honestly, never. It's never happened. I think the problem with being too pressed on the creative side and making things that you love and it's perfect is you need to define the boundaries. I really believe we need boundaries. The boundary is that if I go and buy new cook lenses now, I definitely can't justify it. I'm going to see that little difference and that edge. No one else will. And I'm going to feel like, oh, it looks so nice. No one else cares. No one else will know. So is that a good business decision? Tens of
thousands of dollars effectively.
Yeah, is that a good business? No, it's a terrible decision.
No.
So sometimes you need to not make a decision what you want as a creative and what's going to, those small little things. Stuff goes on phones, goes on social media. No one sees it. Even if it goes on big screens, most people won't see it. So find those things that you just really don't need. Stay with the essentials. Keep your footprint light in terms of gear acquisitions. Rent if you need to.
You can always rent. Like if you're doing a very high budget production, you need bigger gear. I get that, but it's not something you need to own.
You don't need to.
You put that into the quote and you charge the client.
Yeah.
I mean, I did an entire shoot last week on no gear brought from Dubai. I came in, I hired the Burano, hired the Venice, hired the Rialto, hired the Nano Primes, hired all the grip, the lighting team, did the shoot, left.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same as owning it, except I didn't have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for the privilege of owning everything. But I guess it's a case of, like, for example, if you are a filmmaker and you're constantly hiring lav mics, for example, and you know, okay, I could have paid these off in 20 shoots or 15 shoots, then that's the sort of approach that you should have for kit. So justify it by the numbers. I think if we incorporate data into how we make decisions more as filmmakers, I think this is going back to what you said about the business side of things. If it makes sense in business, then do it. If it doesn't make sense in business, then say, am I just a magpie now just going after a shiny object?
Yeah.
So I think you have to justify it in the numbers.
Yes.
And that's where like maybe a business partner or a second head to think about it or to help decide for you is also good because that accountability is useful. Because a lot of us filmmakers are solo. We don't have that bounce board. We don't talk about business enough. Like I did a business workshop in Cape Town the other day, and it's something that's Sony adopting now, and I think it's great. But it's like everyone was saying, the feedback we got from everyone was, I can't believe that they've not been doing these, or they should be doing more of these, because we don't talk about the crap part of filmmaking, the non-fun part of filmmaking, which actually moves the needle the most.
Yeah.
The magic happens in all the work that we're actually avoiding, which is just becoming more strategic and business focused filmmakers.
Yeah, man, that's so powerful. That's one of the things, is making strategic choices in business. Then a big part of what I'm seeing now, it's an issue under a lot of young filmmakers, but even my generation, something I feel really passionate about now that I just want to share is stop distracting yourself. And I'm going to say what I mean by that, but there are so many distractions for creatives and filmmakers. And one of the biggest distractions right now is chasing applause. People are chasing applause on social media. So I'm going to explain now, but whether you are trying to grow on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, what is the driving force behind what's making you create content? A lot of people, including myself, I've been there many years on Instagram, I did that. I spent so much wasted energy on trying to create what's going to get likes, what's going to get applause, what's going to get more views, where I could have focused just on the craft. I could have focused just on building business assets, digital assets and stuff that I can monetize on. So that would be one of my biggest mistakes, that I didn't start earlier. I didn't see the value of having an extra stream of online business.
But the irony is that you learned and discovered that through fault.
Yes.
And that's also a form of a coach or a teacher in itself. Life also teaches you through failure. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, you know, when you're giving advice to someone that's maybe going through a tough time in a relationship and they're love blind, but they've got to go through it themselves sometimes in order to learn. So it's a difficult one because you feel like, God, I wish I did this sooner. Like for me, I've only just started now pouring back into the industry, and you know, my candle now is lighting other candles, and I think it's amazing. But it's taken me 10 years to think, okay, now I'm in a position where I feel I can do that. But I wish I also started sooner.
Yeah.
But obviously you've learned and grafted along the way. So I don't know, it's difficult. It's like, would you have had this perspective if you hadn't gone through those failures?
No, probably not. But I do believe that if someone have told it to me in a way that I could tell it to someone now, it could have gotten me there faster.
True.
So to give you an example, I know a guy that was he was starting to do what I did, like trying to get those. I don't know if it makes sense, but you try and create content that's going to get you likes and grow your audience. Even if it's not the best type of content as being a filmmaker, it's just like, what's going to get views if I go to that place and I use this word, do this, and all the energy that goes into that. And I told the guy, listen, man, please take this from me. I wasted 3 years of my life. It sounds harsh to say 3 years, but I feel like I could have done so much in that time. Take this energy and start finding clients, work on your craft, work on this, start thinking about business. Like don't get sucked into this world of trying to be an influencer, because there's so much more value when someone comes to you and pays you for your work and not for your audience.
True.
I honestly, no disrespect against any influencers. I'm sitting here. I'm technically also an influencer. I have a platform. I have an audience. But I hate it when price gets determined by my size of my audience. So to give you an example, one of the best clients that I have right now is Nanlite. They came to me the first time when I had no followers, and they asked me to film a project. They paid me the same they pay me now, because they paid me for my work. Yeah. They wanted me for my work. Now I've grown. I'm an asset to them. I leverage more payment in other ways with them, but still they never came to me because of my numbers. They came to me because of my work. I had to send an email last week. Yeah, it's Monday today. Last week, to a brand on YouTube who wanted to pay me less because they think that I'm not going to get enough views. I said to them, well, I'm sorry, but like my channel is this valuable. It's not because of how many potential views and I didn't like the fact that it was around the views.
But you're talking about a customer being someone linked, I guess, to the industry as a brand partnership or a product endorsement perspective.
Yeah.
You're not talking about a client hiring you as your DP.
No.
So you're telling me that you wish you would have been more of a successful DP in the industry as opposed to a YouTuber. Interesting.
Exactly.
Because I've done it the other way around. Like my following is small. I have very little influence, but obviously I have the clients. So it's kind of like the opposite. I focus on the craft.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like the grass is always greener. Like I feel like, I wish I had an influence.
But everyone feels like that.
I suppose, yeah.
I've spoken to a lot of successful DPs. They shoot Netflix, they shoot big production stuff, and they all want what I have. And I sort of want what they have. But now I found a middle ground.
Right.
I'm happy with what I have right now, and I have a strategy and a plan going forward. But if I had known this prior to like where I'm now, I would have said to myself, there's a lot of distractions. Stop trying to fight for an audience and start fighting for a client and build a brand that can be turned into an audience. Because ultimately I've seen this. Good work quickly transfer it into an audience. Like if you do really good work, so at some point it's gonna translate into an audience. But what are you banking on? Are you banking on people saying thumbs up, or are you actually getting paid to serve high paying clients? At the end of the day, applause doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is if your videos that get a lot of views actually make a difference. If it makes a difference, I feel it matters. It matters a lot. But someone giving you a thumbs up, like I'd rather have 100 people follow me that actually will throw money at me for doing work for them, than
And
having 10,000 sheep
likes.
who just go like, oh, I like it, cool, well done, moving on. They don't care about you. They just consume the image or the video in the moment they like, and they carry on.
So to summarize this, how would you summarize it?
Don't be distracted. Get a clear purpose and a goal. And for me, honestly, there's only two things that matter. Number one is get as good as you can in the craft, not what would work for the masses at that time or what's trending. Get good at the craft and get good at business. Those are the two things. Like, that's your focus. Yeah. Because if you want to do this forever, you have to build a sustainable business. If you want to do this forever, you have to grow and be better at it. All the other stuff is just distractions. And it can be added on. It can be added on, but it steals your energy when you can actually be focusing on the more important stuff.
I find business is a very vague term though. And I feel like this is something that even I'm still navigating, because to me, if you're a filmmaker, it's very hard to pitch content. So I've got a friend, his name's Jacques Crafford. I've mentioned him a couple of times before in some podcasts. He has this thing called the 4 Ps. So any content house, agency, PR, branding, marketing, advertising, filmmakers, whatever, there's 4 Ps to content. There's the planning, which is like the campaign strategy to the business. There's the producing, which is what we do, the actual production of those assets. There's the publishing of that content, and then the promoting of that content. And that's how a business works. Yeah. Because you have the plan of how the content is produced and put together, and then you have the ability to get it to the right, you publish it on the correct platform, and they promote it to the right audience. Filmmakers only do one of the 4 Ps, technically.
Yeah, produce.
It's not our job, I think, to understand and unpack a business's strategy, to understand the minutiae of how they serve their target market, and if what asset they're asking us to create will actually move the needle on their sales. It's unfair, I feel, unless you're going into an agency where you're able to develop those 4 Ps.
Yes.
So as a result, if a content creator is being hired to produce said asset, then we have to be, I think, comfortable and business-minded enough to know where our job starts and ends. But we need to ask the right questions, I feel, to our clients. So that means sometimes turning down work. So let me give you an example to make this probably easier to understand if anyone's not getting this at the minute. If you have a new business, let's say like a clothing store or something, and they want to move the needle on sales, now you can come in and propose ways to show off the store, the products inside. Maybe you can incentivize footfall by getting customers in. But if they don't distribute that correctly, or if it's not strategic in their business model and the asset doesn't end up paying for itself, they're not going to come back to you. Yeah. I've done social contracts for a few months and clients have fallen away. So that's why I find filmmakers don't usually get reoccurring monthly revenue. We're usually one-offs.
Yeah.
Because unless the client hiring you knows how to leverage content already.
Yes.
So that's why agencies work very well with filmmakers, because they're responsible for the 4 Ps. They're not. What they're wanting in terms of ROI is what I call the 2 Qs, quality and quantity.
Yeah.
That's what filmmakers do, in my opinion. The ROI that we deliver to our clientele most of the time is a quality deficiency, as opposed to them using a phone or a rubbish freelancer, or a quantity deficiency. Maybe they just don't have the time or the skill set to execute things in volume. Anything outside of that is a metric which is governed by these 4 Ps.
Yeah.
Which really can only, I think, happen with B2B clients. So a B2C, like a bride, won't expect you to be, they just want they want good quality footage of their day, and they want to make sure that you have lots of quantity, like you getting messages of the family, the speeches in full. They care more about what they can look back on in later life to know this is a special day. So it's a quality and quantity answer. An agency is the same. If a PR or a marketing agency wants you to create a commercial for their client, they've already got the strategy, they've devised it. They just need the commercial to look amazing. Yeah. And maybe have a load of ancillary content as well. So quality and quantity. A B2B is the only way where this differs, because you're dealing with a business owner and they value things very differently. So a bride and agency will value something similar. A business won't. They'll care about saving time, saving money, or earning money.
Yes.
And it's that where we get caught, in my opinion. Filmmakers are expected to be business strategic marketing execs. They're expected to be an agency, and I don't think it's fair.
Yeah.
And that's where our job is in this industry. We need to educate.
Yeah.
Because agencies also don't have the time to do this. gear is moving so fast. The skill set to learn and produce films is so complicated.
They can't keep
That's
up.
why the agencies only do 3 of the 4.
Yes.
So it is a necessary partnership. So I think if you're going to be strategic and grow, and where I feel the money is actually as a filmmaker is actually befriending a lot of B2As, business to agencies, knowing where you can move the needle on B2Bs, but your qualification process has to be amazing.
Yes.
So you have to know who you can help and who you can help.
Yeah.
And then obviously B2Cs are also fine as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what
awesome, man. I love it.
Mm.
I'm learning just listening to you. No, it's great. I
Makes
really,
sense though, right?
No,
You agree?
it makes 100% sense. Yeah.
How important is it, do you think, to be good at business? And what I mean by that is like your own sales and your own marketing. What do you, where do you feel like filmmakers are going right and wrong now?
I feel like where I'm sitting here right now, it's the most important part. It's more important than everything. It's like that thing of if I could send my kid to school and he wants to be a filmmaker, I'm not going to send him to film school. I'm going to send him to business school. Like this is an example, but business is such a crucial part of anything long-term and being sustainable, that it's not being taught. It's not being talked about enough. Most people are just fumbling around in the dark, including myself. So I can actually just tell my story. Right here, as I'm sitting now, I'm one of those guys sitting at the bottom, slowly starting to see my skill as a business person grow as I start seeing the income and the potential. It's actually, I don't see myself as an expert, but I have gone through various industries where I also went up and realized, okay, so being good at business in this industry can make a massive difference. So I'll start with the beginning. When I started wedding filmmaking, I was the worst kind. I had really poor branding. I was undercharging, literally I had no clue. So my first bit of advice to anyone would be to find a good business mentor from the beginning. I was lucky enough to make friends with another wedding filmmaker who was at that time the highest earning guy in South Africa. Everyone was looking up to his work. He did all the most expensive weddings, and he was right there in Pretoria where I lived at that stage. So he was close by. I reached out to him and he was like, yeah, cool, let's have coffee.
Amazing.
And we just became friends, and he very quickly started speaking into my business, saying, hey man, you need to use my logo designer. I'll give you a discount.
Amazing.
He had a full service house. We'll design you a new logo, change your name, double your prices. Don't do this. Take that out of your packages. All of that. Immediately it made a difference.
Wow.
But the knowledge that he gave me stuck with me, and I built on that knowledge because he wasn't there 24/7, you know.
No.
So
you take parts and you make it your own. That's the whole point of a mentor. It's not to do exact. It's to course correct you. You're still in your own road.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a co-pilot.
Exactly. But 6 months down the line, instead of I'm going to increase 10%, I doubled my prices.
Wow.
6 months after that, I doubled again. So I double. And within a year and a half, 2 years, I was charging the same as him. So I was actually in the wedding industry, I was killing it. I was like the guy, you know. I'm getting all the high weddings. I'm getting paid really well. People couldn't believe it. How do clients pay you that much? But it was because of that guy. It's not because I'm that good. So he literally changed my life. And that's where the networking comes in.
Amazing.
Someone else changed my life. He spoke life. And I know that I did that for other people. I did that. Like I helped many people. I told them, do this, don't do that. And I know for sure I made that same difference for someone else. Now, fast forward to even the travel business, where I eventually went into that. I did documentaries. I did like travel, tourism commercials, those sort of things. It was all travel related, nothing serious like cruise and lights and stuff like that. And immediately I took a dip in income because I didn't know how that business works. You know, I didn't know I worked with big brands in South Africa, and they were definitely underpaying me. I didn't even know it. I thought, oh, cool, this is more than a wedding. It must be great. And then someone said to me, hey man, how on earth can you charge this much? You know, that's like peanuts to them. Like that, it's like nothing. They're winning, and just getting that advice. But it was not just about learning to charge more or to value yourself. It was learning how to position yourself as a personal brand. Like that's one of the things. So if I can just elaborate about that, I feel like so many people are fumbling around in the dark because they don't understand the principle of how to brand yourself and to put yourself out there. And the thing is some people, they market themselves as, I do weddings, I do this and that and this and that. So when I was in the wedding industry, I marketed myself as a wedding filmmaker, nothing else. There was only a wedding website. When I was in the travel stuff, I deleted all the wedding stuff. I deleted the website. I stopped saying yes to weddings, and I only put out the stuff that I wanted to do more of. You only put out what you want to do more. And I started getting that. So
I talk about this. I call it the fun and the funds. If you ever want to know how to niche, focus on what you enjoy and what pays you the most.
Yes.
And do more of that.
Yes.
Because if you're stuck doing work for clients that you don't like, that's your own fault. You got to own that responsibility.
Yeah.
You've got to say no. You've got to take a step backwards to take 2 steps forward. So you might have to drop your revenue or to claw back some time.
Yes.
But like what you just said, when you start focusing on what you want to be doing more of, that naturally the world gives that back to you.
Yes.
I'm a big believer in manifesting.
Dude,
and
honestly,
law of attraction for sure.
What you put out there is what you attract. That's my line for everyone. If I ever coach someone about this, I say, what you put out there is what you attract. If you output cheap weddings, you're going to attract cheap wedding clients.
Absolutely.
So when I first started doing the travel thing, that was 2016. That was like at the time where travel films was really popular. It was like this wow thing. The internet, all of a sudden, Instagram thought you could see the world through people's, platforms. I had one film that I went to Iceland that came through my network, which is a game changer for me. Game changer.
Wow.
They took me to Iceland. I had 1,000 followers. So they didn't take me for my numbers. They took me for my filmmaking skills to make a video about it. That film got me another job, which I went to the Philippines. And then I had one more job where I went to Bali. I had those 3 films. I put them up there. Nothing more. I got so much work from those 3 films that I had 12 films. This is what I do. This is what I am.
Yeah.
I'm not anything else. I am this, and this is what. And the clients that booked me wanted it in the same style. I didn't have to go and do something crazy that's not in line with what I'm already doing. So I always had this job satisfaction, dude. Like honestly, I know it's easier said than done, but I cannot work on projects that I don't like.
And the thing is, you won't ever deliver something exceptional if you don't love it.
Yeah. So my desire in this filmmaking industry is, however the means that I'm going to earn money, I don't care what that looks like as long as I enjoy the projects that I work on. That's my only goal. I have to enjoy it because that's the also the sustainable part of not burning out and giving up and starting a rental company or like stuff like that. I just want to always have that satisfaction of this job is fun. And I'll say this, we've spoken about it, no job is ever fun all the time.
No, you got
nothing like that. But the good parts are like far better than the worst part, and it makes up for.
Every rose has its thorns, right?
Yeah. So that's where I'm at now. I'm just always trying to do projects that I really feel, wow, this is it for me. I want to do this, and maybe I can say that on the business part. Something I wanted to say earlier is one of the reasons I didn't always get to do that, where I ended up making mistakes choosing work that I didn't want to do, is because I didn't have a reserve fund. Like I honestly don't know why people don't tell filmmakers from the start. You need 5 months at least.
Oh, it's so important.
5 months. That's not your money. It's not your money. It doesn't belong to you. It's untouchable.
Yeah.
It's there. It's the business money. So that when a project that you don't like comes along and you don't have that money, say, you know what? I'm actually not going to take this project.
This is so investors, financial advisors talk about this. And you can tell this is good financial advice just generally now. And I've met a lot. In Dubai, they're 10 a penny. You can throw a stone and you'll hit a financial advisor in Dubai. It's quite funny. But a good one will actually say you're not in a position to financially invest and pour into other things if you don't have a security and a scarcity mindset buffer or like an emergency buffer, like you just said.
Yeah.
You have to remember that the human brain is very, very simple. If you don't have means to survive, you will not be your smartest. You will not be entrepreneurial.
Exactly.
So you need to eradicate that reptile brain, that survival. I need to, or I'm worried about how to, make ends meet.
Yes.
So the buffer is step number one. Only then, when that's complete and it's not yours and you don't touch it, and you then are in a second phase of abundance where you can then pour into things. So controlling the expenses actually is the first step.
Yes.
Building a buffer is the second step. The third step is then pouring back in. That's when you can start dabbling with things. And it starts technically with you and safe investments. You don't dabble with crypto. You don't dabble with other things. The biggest ROI is yourself. So if you can pour education into yourself, pour into developing and focusing on things, like you say, say no to a few jobs. So you're not reliant on that revenue to pay your rent. You can lean on your buffer to then pursue something you enjoy more, that pays you more potentially, and that you enjoy more. That's the way you compound growth.
Yeah.
Easiest way. Completely agree.
Dude, this is a game changer. Honestly, this has probably been the biggest game changer for me. Is today I realized it and I implemented it, and I started, because I had some bad jobs where I sat there on that day and I said to myself, how did I get here? How did I get here? How is it possible that I'm sitting? I'm hating every second of being on this project. The editing is so torturing. It's like it's
and it's horrible when you're there as a filmmaker, when you have to do jobs sometimes that you absolutely despise, and it seems like there's no end to it. I completely, we've all been there.
So I just decided that I really believe I'm one of those. I might be sometimes a bit over positive about these things, but I really believe that there's always going to be something that I'm going to like. So some months I just say no to the stuff. I know I'm turning down a lot of money. Some of those jobs are high paying, I turn it down, but lo and behold, they always come. They always come. So the thing that I say that I lost some money, you make it up more than your buffer. Not just like, I'm taking out of my buffer now. It's like you make it up even more.
But it's important to recognize, guys, that you do have to go through, I don't know if I can say shit on this podcast, but a shit period.
Yeah.
Where you need to unfortunately build that buffer. So it's
exactly.
It's not advice I would say turn down work if you're new.
No.
I teach my students, the new ones, or even people that are not new, is before you can niche and you can understand where you're meant to be, you've got to taste life a little bit. You've got to taste weddings, you've got to taste corporate, you've got to taste commercials, taste short films, and just get data, because what we're saying right now to you guys may apply in some respects, may not. Where you are in the world and where you're watching this may be completely different in terms of what advice. But if you gather your own data, look at, okay, my last 30 projects or 40 projects, where did I earn the most? What did I enjoy the most? And then go a next layer down and then focus more on getting clients like that.
Yeah.
Then you're naturally niche. Yeah. And that's the best way to do it. But you have to do your shit.
Yeah.
And save your buffer in that period. Yeah. That's where you do it.
Yeah.
And then obviously as you are building, you're then niching, and then it just compounds, which is probably where you are now.
It's funny because one of my friends always uses this example. He says, if you're an accountant, you have to do articles. I don't know if you know anything about that. It's called articles. It's like when you're a doctor, you have to do 1 year of community work. It's like you work for nothing. You're not getting, it's hard work. It's really, but it's part of you getting the degree. So when you say you do your articles, everyone has to do their articles.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
You have to do your articles. So if you're new, you have to do your articles. You have to see how difficult it can be and what you don't want to find your niche. It's like a funnel that takes you to your niche. But you have to try as much as you can. You have to suffer a bit. You have to do jobs you don't enjoy to get. You got
to earn your stripes.
Exactly.
That's what it's called. That's what it refers to. Yeah. And this is when before the podcast was running, you were talking about you might have said it, but like be nice to people on set that are new. People like there's a difference between like being respected and earning your stripes. I mean, I think everyone should be respected, but you should do the crap jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's absolutely fine if you are very new to the industry, be at peace with the fact that you might have to just get coffee on a big set, or you might just have to carry tripods around. But if you're close to the first AC, you're close to the DP, you're close to the director, you're likable, you invest in people, you will climb. But just be patient. I think this is another issue of this day and age, is people see how successful people are becoming online, and they don't see the years of graft behind it that got them to that position. No. Like I've been grinding for years. I've got no influence online, but we've compounded to a point where we are doing quite well now.
Yeah.
You yourself, you've gone through years of just putting out content and helping people, and it's not compounded to anything. And then now it's starting to come to fruition, and it's that graft that people just don't want to do.
So it's so funny. It's exactly what you're saying. Like someone told me the other day, he said, "Wow, you really hit the jackpot on YouTube. Hey, you were so lucky." And in a way, I see it as I see it as, yes, I'm grateful. I'm very fortunate that, because a lot of people try, not everyone succeed. But it took me 10 years of grafting, and that all of that knowledge of making mistakes and learning things, all of that quickly overnight made me a success. No, it took me 10 years to be an overnight success. It's one of those stories. So in YouTube, I was sort of a quick success and I grew quickly. But for many years, I was learning a lot of the things that I speak about now, and I was going through all the challenges and going. Yeah. So that's definitely it's a very valuable.
I think if anyone wants to try and find a way to become successful, going back to the sales and marketing, I actually have this methodology which you've actually just poured out and reaffirmed, that there's 3 things I think every filmmaker should do. I call it ECV. The first layer to any strong business when you want to grow, whether it be in any aspect, and I'll make it more specific to sales and marketing, is you need to be extraordinary. So like you said, if you are mediocre with your craft, you don't invest in yourself to produce amazing content, you're not going to get that natural word of mouth, that referral, that people going, oh, wow, who did that asset? The irony is that to be amazing at what you do actually is good business development. Yeah. Because the way we get business actually is through referrals and word of mouth. Yeah. So that's the first layer. The second layer is C, credible. So you can be extraordinary at your work, but you have to be comfortable showboating it a little bit and showing that you're credible. And it's not just portfolio, showreel, assets online. It's getting the case studies and the testimonials and the social proof to reaffirm to people that are new looking at you that you are a trustworthy person. Because there's a lot of very talented filmmakers that I know out there, but if they have zero presence online and they don't appear credible, they're not a safe bet. Yeah. And businesses value agencies specifically, which is where the money is, do not like to go with someone that is not reliable, because you're speaking to 9 times out of 10 an employee that doesn't care about the metrics and the business elements because of the 4 Ps. They just care about not looking stupid in front of their boss. Yes. They want someone that's reliable if they bring to the table to execute the project at amazing quality so their client goes, wow. So that's the second thing. And the last thing is visibility. Yeah. So you spoke about this Iceland thing. You were extraordinary in what you did. You were credible. You had some work online, so they found you in the first place, but you also networked. Now you can be the best shooter on the planet. You can have the best work online, but if you don't actively participate in getting to know people and shake hands and become that charismatic, likable person, it's a recipe for disaster. So I think if people focus on these 3 things, ECV, extraordinary, credible, and visible, you're onto a winner. Now, obviously some people may advance sooner than others, but I think if you stick with those 3 principles and let that guide you, you're pretty much fine. Treat it as your compass. So when someone says to me, should I do work for free? I actually agree they should, if they're not in a position where they're not extraordinary yet. If you need to learn to become extraordinary first, the first step, then do work for free. Yeah. I do work for free even now. If I find that the network that I'm walking into, or the person that I'm trying to build rapport with is a person that I should be close to and I want to have in my pocket as oh wow, this person, I'm going to give to this person, I know they're going to want to reciprocate, I will sometimes do things for free. That's how I got this McLaren job. I got this McLaren job because I pinpointed that PR agencies are actually a client that I should be building more rapport with in the industry, and more type of client that I should be building more rapport with. So I befriended a PR awards body where these guys hang out, offered to do their content for free. So instantly I had access over every other production house in Dubai, where I was surrounded by PR agencies. After one event, I left with 11 meetings on a job with McLaren that paid $120,000 for one event. So that just goes to show that it's the visibility exercise, and sometimes doing things for free. So I think be patient, don't be money driven, let the compass guide you. I think if it ever impacts one of those things, so if you're going to do a job where it may affect your extraordinariness, like if I walked you into a shoot and I gave you rubbish kit under tough circumstances and you were going to deliver a bad job, you're going to be very frustrated because it's going to affect your reputation. And if the client has a bad experience of you, even at your level, they're not going to hire you again. So I think that's the only time that you turn work down. Even if you're in this scarcity mindset, I need to build buffer. Don't do it if it's not going to make you extraordinary. Every job you should do should be done to the best of your capabilities, I feel. So I've got a question for you. What don't you manage well? And what do you do to get around it?
I would say, if we're just talking about the filmmaking aspect of it, I would say that I'm not the best storyteller, like at all. I see myself as a creative, but I'm not a creative storyteller. I'm not the best communicator, or in that sense. Like I can do some, but I know where my limits are. So over the last few years, let's say the last few months, I really started utilizing other people on that strength. Actually, last 2 years, like that way. I would bring in a director. I would get someone to help me with the story. I would still be part of the decision making, but I know that I can't go and do that part from scratch. I'm good at being a DP. I can get a shot. I can do some of the lighting, and I know that I can do some of the editing. Like I know those are some of my strong areas, and grading even I know.
So how does the mechanics of that work? Is that someone you employ, or is that someone you contract in for the project? Is it a line item you put in a quote? Like how do you afford that or get it bankrolled, or how does it work mechanically in the realm of your business?
So at the moment I don't, I always use someone from outside. I contract someone in. Again, it's that network we spoke about earlier. There's always someone in a network that's either available, or I let them, I make it work that they're available, or someone that I want to work with on this specific project. And then I bring them in, though it's my client. They know that ultimately I can still have a bit more input than what, let's say, a commercial DP has. Commercial DP comes in, there's a brief from the agency, from the director. He still sort of has to bend a lot of the rules, not the rules. He has to bend towards a certain creative direction in what they want. Where in my case, because I have my clients, I bring in someone as a director to help me with the storytelling. I still have a little bit more say. So I am very open to saying, okay, if you think this is not going to work, we're not going to do this. But I also still know this is not what I want. Can we just maybe tweak it a bit? So the dynamic's quite unique, because my client, it's my client, but the director is not working for me, but technically he's still sort of directing for me. So he adds that strength to the production, where I'm producing in my head.
Yeah,
because I'm the overall the production.
What would you call that role?
Me. At this stage, honestly, I think
it needs a name, because you're right. We all fall into the confinements of how the feature industry designate roles. And like, even on this podcast, I'm a production house owner, I'm a DP, I'm also an editor, I'm also a producer, I'm also a first AD sometimes, I'm also a first AC sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm also dealing with talent and casting and treatments and record reports and lighting. And it's just it's almost like you want a Swiss Army knife, but you also want to I don't know, it's weird. I feel like there needs to be a whole new production structure for this new realm of production that we're living in right now, where you have DPs orchestrating shoots, but obviously want to outsource some roles to different people, and that having a superior title that's above director or something. Yeah. It's weird. I don't know what it...
I don't have a title. Honestly, it's difficult. And sometimes people ask me, what do you do? I can't say that I'm a DP, because I'm not. I do DP work.
Yeah. But it's one tiny portion.
Like a DP, but I'm not a DP. Because in my mind, when I hear DP, I think of a guy who DPs on commercial shoots week in, week out with the director. He has his role, he has his but he also follows instructions more than just someone who, like me, where the reason I do business for myself is not because I like business, it's because I love having creative freedom.
You're like a shooting producer or a tech producer. It's more like that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, they should make a title.
Like a creative producer or something.
Yeah.
If you guys got any ideas, drop it in the comments. Awesome stuff. What would you advise a filmmaker does, specifically a freelancer, to make not only a good living, but to thrive and make a business out of this? What advice would you give?
Yeah, I think anyone who gets into this, most people who get into this will do it because of the love for the passion. So most of them, everyone you have a passion to be better, or you want to be good at it. So I'm not going to say be better. I'm going to come back to business. I feel like I'm going to explain my definition of business this time better. You have to learn how to market yourself, how to brand yourself. What does your brand look like? How to market yourself, integrate into a network, and learn how to scale. So we can talk about that also. But honestly, the age where we live in now, it is not about how good you are. It's actually been like that since we were. It's
Oh,
never been
I know
about
lots
who's
of
the best.
successful cam ops that just make a killing and they're average.
It's
Yes.
never been about who's the best.
Mm.
The guy who did the weddings back then I mentioned earlier, he wasn't the best, and he knew it. He said, "I'm not the best," but he had the biggest lines. He had the most money.
So what
Because
was it?
It was branding.
Okay.
It was network. I mean, he is the reason I got all those opportunities because he understood networking. So his network was super strong. He had really good branding. Not just talking about logos and graphics. It was the way he even had a studio where people could walk in.
Well, people forget branding is even like how you dress or how you approach yourself.
No.
Branding is what. So someone said to me this once that get the idea out of your head that branding is like a logo. Branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Exactly.
That's branding.
Exactly. So he had such a good brand that every single supplier in the industry always spoke well about him.
There we go. Reputation.
And if I ever spoke to a photographer on a wedding shoot and say that, oh, me and him, we are friends, they're like, oh yeah, we love him. It was always like, they even saw it as like, oh, you're friends with him. That's great, you know. So branding is definitely, the way I see it, is the perception of how people perceive you as a business, and obviously also the personal side of it, as a person, the way you conduct yourself, the way people feel about you when you're on set, the way you conduct yourself. So branding it's such an intricate way, but a logo can make a difference, and an email, the way you write an email, all of those things can add up to the entire thing. So branding is a multifaceted. So you have to work on all those areas to get your branding to place. If that's out of the way, now you have to work on how are you going to market yourself? How are you going to scale? Whether you charge more for one video or whether you do 10 videos without doing all the work. So I found my way to scale, because that's something we could talk about a lot. Something I look up to you a lot is the way you employ more people and the way how you get other people to do the work, certain parts of the jobs, where I'm struggling with that. I'm really, really struggling with that. I struggle to let someone else do something that I know I wanted to do it in this specific way. So I found a way to scale my business without having to now go employ 10 people. And that is through YouTube. So scaling my audience, which means I can sell stuff. That's basically
it's a very different model to mine.
Yeah, that's my next.
It's not either one works, but you're right. It's
that's my next step. Is the only way that I was able to scale was not scaling the business, because I'm going to be honest with you. I not that I don't think that I can't do it, but I don't think I would ever enjoy employing a lot of people. Like I feel it's too stressful for me thinking about other people the whole time when my mind is just wants to focus on the task and how am I going to get the excellence right? How am I going to and I know people who go into that role and they end up being miserable. And I'm not saying everyone, there are people who get a kick out of being at the top and managing everything and seeing how it comes together.
But not many people are born leaders, though. It's a very difficult thing managing people.
So I know where my limitations are, and I know for a fact that I can't do that. And I still want to scale. I still want to grow a business. So the only way for me to do it is to scale myself on a level where I don't have to do the work myself. So creating products and then selling it to more people where there's a bigger reach online. There's a whole ocean of people out there. If I just throw my net in, I grab a few is enough compared to trying to serve one client here and one client there. So I'm leveraging my business now between two tiers. The one is still servicing clients and doing client work, even if it's on YouTube. The other one is selling myself and selling stuff online. And that is much more scalable for me.
So where do you, so out of your revenue that you generate, where does the large quantity of the money for the minimum amount of effort come from?
Well, until now, this whole online selling is new to me. I just launched my first product last week.
Which is?
A sound pack, sounding sound assets, like Foley sounds and sound effects like that. And I'm busy with the color grading course, but I'm actually following the 5-frame funnel network framework. I don't know if you know that, but I've been equipping myself with online sales and understanding how a funnel works. A lot of the stuff that you said earlier, is people want to work with those they like,
Know, like,
know,
and
and trust. Those three. So YouTube for me is my funnel.
Yeah, it is. That's where
I'm
the source
adding
comes
value
from.
without expecting anything. So people are coming into the funnel. Some of them are ciphering down into loyal supporters, you know, where they really. But at the end of I just need a small portion to buy from me.
Well, that's the thing
I don't
that
need
people.
everyone to buy from me.
You're right. Yeah, this is where filmmakers go wrong. If I may expand, I think there's three only ways I think content creators can scale. When I say scale, I mean like you can really like sit back one day and reap the benefits of decades of work.
Yeah.
And the first one is to remain solo, but to become so premium that and so niched at something that you can charge whatever you want. And then that money that you earn not only replenishes and fills your buffer, but then you can use to compound into other things. So you can dabble by creating other assets or businesses or put it into investments. And then that compounded wealth will then let you financially free eventually.
Yeah.
So that's one way. But it's very difficult because what you have to do is you have to become very strategic of knowing how to carve your own market and setting yourself above the rest in terms of the competition. You have to literally be in your own course.
Yeah.
And it's the Ferraris and the Bentleys of the automotive world. It's the first class of flying. It's the high end products versus the others. And it's a scarce thing. You have to qualify your clients correctly. You have to not work with everyone. You have to say no. You have to be specific, and you have to not flex on your prices. And that's something I feel is definitely achievable, but it is difficult. The second way is to grow a team, like what I'm doing. So. Because no one will ever get rich compounding their own time for money. That it's just impossible unless you start charging ridiculous. So you'll never get rich trading your time for money. You heard that saying. So you need to start leveraging your time. Like I saw an Andrew Tate podcast the other day, and he said something really funny. He said, you could work for the next 30 years and save every single dollar that you earn, and you still won't be able to buy one of my cars. So if that doesn't tell you how to there's another way to make money, then I don't know what will. And it's true, as much as it's like, bloody hell, it's quite like, because I know he's a bit edgy and I know everyone doesn't like it, but there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing we have to recognize, that unless you're planning to do option the second option is to leverage other people's time. Now you can do it through contracting, or you can build your own team, but you need a workforce, something that can be used to be built into an ecosystem that you can then strategically systemize and then use to produce other productions where you're not involved.
Yeah.
Which is where I'm at. But again, that also has a ceiling, because that's only one part of the story. The second part of that story is that you need to be able to exit. And I think this is where most filmmakers that are growing a team struggle. They realize that they're unable to relinquish full creative control because they know that the business will collapse slowly or collapse quickly, depending on how far along they are, if they're not involved. And that's known as a key man. So for me right now in my production business, I'm a key man still. If I left the company tomorrow, it might stay around for a bit, but I think eventually it will die.
Yeah.
Because people are used to being received the service from me. I'm the KPI. It's like Tesla without Elon Musk. It's like Virgin without Richard Branson. It's like Microsoft without Bill Gates. So when you attach yourself to a brand, although it's good and you have scalability, you're still always fixed to the business. So there's no way for you to eventually set back and to relax. So the actual end goal of this model, this second version, is to actually annex yourself with someone that does do the 4 Ps, an agency.
Oh, wow. Yes.
So I'm having conversations right now with different agencies about us being a production arm that slots into a 4P ecosystem.
Wow.
The third route to scale is to become an agency to deliver the 4P ecosystem.
Exactly.
So there's only 3 ways, just to summarize. Charge inappropriate amounts of money that you can then compound. Build a company that merges into a 4P ecosystem or develop a 4P ecosystem.
That's awesome.
So I think advice to filmmakers, what we don't do enough is we don't think about the end goal enough. I talked about this in our workshop the other day. Someone was asking me about long-term strategy of what direction they should be doing. And I said, if you look at it like a car and you're going on a journey that you've never done before, the first thing you do is you get your Google Maps out and you pop a destination in Google Maps, and then it reverse engineers the route for you. Yeah. We don't think like that when it comes to business. When we're at school, we go, what do you want to do? Not what do you want to be?
Yeah.
There's one word shift in that. Now, B means destination. How do we reverse engineer that? Do just means complacent with what you're doing in life. And there's nothing wrong with doing something you enjoy, but that's why 90% or 99% of us are employed and struggling. It's because we don't articulate what it is that we're aiming for. People can quite happily go to university, something they decided when they were a child. 16, 17 as a child, in my opinion, your brain is not developed.
Yeah, absolutely.
You dictate your future based on a few decisions to go to university. People think, okay, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on this university course, and then now that's my future. And they feel like you did. You feel like a failure for not fulfilling what you paid to do.
Yeah.
And it's strange that we don't challenge this enough. And then you're left in the wilderness trying to figure it out and fend for yourself. And you're now resorting to things like this form of education and online courses. And that's why I feel like the online education has got so much potential, because it's challenging the status quo, so to speak, of how universities and educational systems function. So this is just, we were talking, going back to the car reference. If filmmakers actually sit down and think about what it is they want to do, you'd actually be surprised how beneficial that would be for you in a compound effect later on in life. Like, I realized when I did this exercise 5 years ago that I don't actually want to be running a company with 30, 40 staff in it. It's a headache. It's hard. So I only started analyzing and thinking about these 3-step methodologies and talking to agencies to exit now, because I know it's going to take me 5 years to get there. So I'm in this process right now. I'm definitely not there yet, but it's an interesting journey. But I wouldn't have started these conversations and thinking like this if I hadn't reverse engineered the destination first. Yeah. So if you're destined to be, I want to stay on the tools. Like for me, I'd love to get back being a solo person, doing impactful documentaries, filming car content, but I know that's going to have a ceiling on my revenue. So if I can sell my business or compound it in some other way, then at least I've benefited for the last 15 years of work. So I think we just need to think more about the long-term objective, that marker, and just finding a way we get there, and just leveraging the assets, the people, the environment that we're in, the mentors, and just finding a way to get there. And I think once we do that, it becomes super clear. And I don't think, have you got a 15-year journey, like a 15-year plan or something?
No.
If I said to you 10 years from now, what is it that you want to be doing, mate? Have you got that articulated? Because not many people I meet don't.
No, not really. Just because I also have seen over the years how quickly things can change.
Well, it's allowed to change. It doesn't have to be set in stone.
Yeah, exactly. Given the current economic, technological advancement of stuff and AI, I honestly don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that. Yeah. But I think, the point is that we're not just thinking about where we want to be career-wise. We're thinking about lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like when you get up in the morning, what do you want to be doing?
Yeah, so that's one thing I can definitely comment on. I actually have a few questions for you, but I know what I want out of my lifestyle, and I'll do whatever I can do for my projects or work to serve that lifestyle.
Good.
Like I definitely want.
That's already a lot more than a lot of people, because it's a massive. If you're unable to enjoy life along the way, cliche quote, isn't it? It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Yeah. But it is about the destination and what you do on your journey. So this is where I don't feel the quote is fully complete. Yeah. But yeah, so like the lifestyle is super important. There's no point you arriving safely at death. There is no point.
Yeah.
So
tell me a bit about your business ventures. Like earlier you mentioned something about your courses and stuff like you starting to give back. Like I'm really interested to.
So well, obviously I have my production house, which is my main thing, and it's a full-time job, and I'm traveling, and I come to this country to even do work for it. But for 10, 15 years, I've been a filmmaker, and I've grown a team, and I've seen all the problems and challenges I've had along the way. And I don't think we're there yet. I'm still miles away from where I want the business to be, but we've generated a pretty good, we've had a good pop at like getting some good projects. I mean, I've worked personally with Will Smith. I did the Pope visit when the Pope came to the UAE. I've done work with Red Bull, and I still do work with Vice, Netflix. We produce Indian matchmaking. I'm constantly shooting for big car brands like Golf Oil, McLaren, BMW, Mitsubishi, Ferrari, Aston Martin, Mercedes, Volkswagen, Audi, you name it, we've done it all. McDonald's, like huge things. So I consider myself not a phenomenal DP producer. I'm just some guy, I feel, from Trowbridge in England, the country, the place where I grew up. I think my environment played a massive part in this shift, and also the fact that I was prepared to outwork anyone. Yeah. So for me, I feel like I'd made a lot of mistakes along the way. Like my first 2-3 years in Dubai, I barely turned over $20,000. And me and my business partner were like, we're going to have to go home. We cannot survive here. And it was only when I started investing in myself, sales, mentoring, networking events, did the needle move. And I wish I did start sooner. I mean, I'm glad I went through that to learn the pains to where I am. So I don't regret anything. But like what you said, I wish I would have compounded it sooner. Yeah. And I feel like filmmakers are being told a million things about what they should be doing, what gear they should buy, what lens they buy. You should be doing this, you should be doing this, you should be doing this. And we're in such a overwhelming information age. We don't know. We can't see the wood for the trees. We do not know what to do. It's not clear enough. School does not prepare you. Courses. I mean, again, I'm running a course, but I've consumed a lot of courses, and I'm not going to name names, but I've gone through them and the value's just not there.
Yeah.
They're saying they know how to build a production business without actually doing it themselves.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm in it. I'm not saying I've made it and sold it. I could still go through a lot of problems and it could still fail. Touch wood, it doesn't. But I think what we need to be doing is sharing what we've learned across the way in our own journeys. And now I'm only at a position now where I feel like, just due to the Sony ambassadorship that I've got, it's been a creative ambassadorship for years. Now it's becoming more business because I'm a bit more passionate about making it more available and more present in filmmaker, you know, content. I think if we can find a way to be more strategic, be more business people, if I can help anyone navigate a difficult client or learn to get paid sooner or learn to implement processes that make their lives easier, I think that's really for me now the impact. I love that. And on the side to this production business and being an ambassador, I've created now my own community. It's called Financially Free Filmmaker, known as Triple F. It's just on school. I've got a wait list at the minute which people can subscribe to, so I'm happy to share that. And we do enrollment several times throughout the year where we let some students in and they get access to me in group sessions. There's online courses and it's all business. I don't teach you how to film.
That's awesome.
Don't come to the course if you don't know how to film. And if you come into the course, you'll still gain, but it's not going to teach you to light. It's not going to teach you to film. It's not going to teach you how to edit.
Yeah,
that's not the course for it. Go consume Full-Time Filmmaker or go consume Jack's content here because that's not what this is. Because it's already detailed enough and long and lengthy and complicated. And the course is only one layer of it. I have to do group sessions because it's that accountability. I think of it as like, if anyone's on the fence about mentoring, it doesn't have to be with me, but invest in it, because I think it's a little bit like a personal trainer in a gym. You know that if you go to the gym and you go to failure on reps and you work out hard and you burn lots of calories, you will lose weight. So what is a PT for? Well, the PT is to make sure that you turn up because you don't want to let someone down. We're very good at letting ourselves down, but not other people down. Yeah. They will make sure you get a few extra reps out of it for you. So they'll make sure they push you. They'll check that your form, you're doing things correctly, your course correct, and you're not doing the wrong thing. Those are the benefits of a PT. It's the same with a mentor. They'll make sure that you turn up, you stick to your goals, the course correct. No, it's just like an aircraft. An aircraft, when it takes off from one airport to another, I think an average statistic, and I think, don't quote me on it, but I think about 80% of the time, the plane is off course. And it's the co-pilot's job and the pilot's job to constantly keep course correcting. And only by the constant course correcting do you get to your destination. If you didn't course correct for 50 minutes, you would be miles off course. And I think that's what's happening in business. We do not plan the destination and we don't course correct on the way to get there, because we will divert. You will travel for 2 weeks on a shoot, and what you have to do asset building wise for your influence and community and whatever it is that you want to be doing will come to a halt or standstill. But if you don't course correct, then you'll be years away from what you could have done. And this is where I think most of us go wrong, because we get busy with life. It's difficult, it's hard, it's stressful. We have partners, family, children, sick parents. We have difficult challenges at work. Even if you're an employee, I think we just need to be constantly reevaluating all the time. Am I on track? And it's a simple metric. You're either off or on. So that's what it's for. That's what I'm super passionate about. And that's really why I've created it. So
that's awesome, man. I'm sure that's super valuable because you've got so much experience.
But I'm still learning. I'm learning even things today. And I think that's the beauty of it. That's like you say, stay humble. Everyone's got to recognize that they have something to give in terms of value.
Another random question, if you don't mind me asking.
Sure.
You're so passionate about the 4 Ps, and I can see you like really. Have you ever considered maybe somewhere down the line being the 4 Ps, like creating an agency? Like
the problem, I would like to say, no, I'm going to say no. I've thought about it because I'm trying to systemize my production house, and I find it very difficult because creativity, in my opinion, cannot be systemized. You put someone in a creative box, they're unable to be creative. But there's elements to a business that can be creative. So like any filmmaker watching, do you have a systemized approach to how you acquire a brief? Do you have a systemized approach to how you DIT correctly and store your content? Do you have a process to how you offload that content? Because if you get successful and you're doing content by terabytes by the month, I do about 9 terabytes a month of content, that builds up, and then you need to archive it off, and then that becomes an IT problem. Do you have systems in which you prep gear and check in, check out kit so it doesn't get damaged? Do you have a system in how you recruit people? Do you have a system in how you nurture them to make sure they're valued and they stay with you so you have good retention? Do you have a system in how you measure your prospects? Like, do you, when you have a conversation with a lead, does it go into a system that you then follow up with a few days later? Do you say certain things? Do you measure the data on that to ensure that it's more successful next time round? How do you make sure that the asset that you create delivers on KPIs to the original brief that you should have set a process for? There is thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of systems that you can create unique for your business that you should create, because that gives your business, even if you're a solo freelancer, IP. It gives it that worth. And that's what I feel people should be focusing on. Yeah. So going back to your original question, I'm drowning in that alone.
Okay.
Doing that for 3 other Ps?
Yeah.
Nah.
No. Okay.
Not my style. And I feel like if I become an agency, I'll end up becoming the agency that doesn't develop the actual content, because that I feel is the plan, produce, publish, promote. Plan, produce, publish, promote. Yeah. Producing is if not more work or as much work as this. So you can become an agency, and I think there's a lot of free. Like there's one of my students who is growing an agency.
Yeah,
it's called Knockout Media. His name's Nico. He's doing really, really well. He doesn't even own a camera, and he's got he's already got his first client. It's $2,000 a month. He shoots 1 day a month. He uses his phone. So it just goes to show you that you don't need gear. Wow. You know, and he's already okay. He sorted his expenses are covered by this one client, and he's now getting 2 or 3 more. If I keep him on track and he gets 5, he's going to be able to scale and start hiring a team member, and he can then take a step back. So he wants to go the agency route, and I admire him for that. But I had to really drill into him, like, do not get caught up with the gear then, because you're now focusing on the 4 Ps. You need to be more results heavy rather than actual creative, and it's a very different shift. I can't advise fully on it. But I think, for me, I think the goal is not to do the 4 Ps.
No, that's awesome, man.
Because it sounds like, just stick to what you're good at, right? It's like when you go into a restaurant that's half Italian, half Chinese, it's not going to be good at either. So jack of all trades, right?
No, but it's awesome to hear. You also know, your limitations, and you know where. But I really admire what you've done.
Thank you,
in a way. Like, it's really.
And likewise, I mean, you've built an amazing following, so and so much value. I mean, your material is next level. The content is incredibly high.
Thanks,
and I think that comes across in probably how tirelessly you rewatch the video before it gets uploaded. that is obvious with the thing. So let's put this as a practical answer now. If a filmmaker is great at the creative, but they want to develop the soft and hard skills centered around business, so like your accounting hard skills, your bookkeeping, your systemized sales and marketing approaches, and then the soft skills like the client handling and the human element, what would you advise they do?
One of the first things I would do now, knowing what I know, is to seek out a mentor. I know this sounds easier said than done, because you're basically seeking out someone, wanting something from them, and you don't have that much necessarily to give. But I really believe that there are people out there who has the same mindset. Someone did it for them, so they want to do it for someone else. I'm still like that. Some people come to me, they want to just learn something. If I'm even just this much able to give them that time, I'm going to give it. It's worth it, because I even get a little kick out of it. It's like your course and stuff. You knowing that you add some value, you get a kick out of it. But I would definitely say make it as if your business depends on it, your life depends on it. You need to seek out a mentor. And I'm going to say this might not sound practical to everyone, but I hope it makes sense. You have to pursue that mentor with everything you have. If they really reject you after the second, third time, it's fine. But I've had people who were persistent to come work with me on set, or to come work with me, or to do stuff with me. They were so persistent for months and months and months without being like a pain, but you could see they really wanted. Eventually I gave in. Okay. And some of those people were the best.
Well, you've got to be hungry for it. I think this is where, like, everyone, and I see them a lot at the workshops, so many people leave with so much value, but most of them don't implement. They don't ask. And you've got to ask for things in this world. It's fierce.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to be prepared to outwork people and be persistent and patient, persuasive, punctual, polite. It's called a 15P methodology in my thing. I've got so many P. I'm not going to bore everyone. But it's so important. Like you said, it's persistence. It's like one of the biggest ones.
Yeah, so you have to be persistent, because if someone like let's call them apprentice, if they are persistent and they really pursue that they want to learn from me, then I sort of feel more inclined to give them my time, because I feel like they want to, they value it and they want to use it. So I have a few examples, but I've had some people who really, they went to every workshop. If there's a workshop, they'll come. Again, they'll put it forward, say, please, man, like, let me know. And they'll send me messages, hey, even while I'm on set and I posted a story about it, they'll reply and say, hey man, just saying I'm still here. If you ever need help, I'd love to come join you on set.
Nice.
This is what I can add. And a lot of them also come with the mindset of, I will work for free. Now,
Good.
I personally don't like letting someone work for free. Sometimes you have to, because you don't know what they're going to add.
I think you're right. You don't want to abuse. I think the word is you don't want to abuse someone's time.
Abuse someone.
But you also don't want to bring someone to the table that's going to reflect badly on your product.
No.
So I think you're completely right there, because you don't want to take the piss, but if someone's going to have to go out of their way to show their value, they should be prepared to invest.
Exactly. So I've had someone on set that he just made the whole environment on set a bit toxic, difficult. It was a difficult shoot. Everyone came to me and said, hey, this guy's just too much, like this guy's too much. And I just didn't use him again, but I didn't pay him, so I can't. Now he's working for free. I can't say to him, hey,
I've been burned even by a few interns. I mean, you have to filter, but it's difficult. It's a bit like dating. I mean, you don't know someone until you
have to spend some time with them.
Like even when you recruit people, like when you recruit staff, I find this very difficult. And having 15 people that are under me right now, I've had lots of people come and go, and it's like when you look at a CV, it does nothing. Even a portfolio or a showreel does nothing.
Yeah.
I think having that trial period where they're prepared to invest, first of all, lets them see if they've got character to invest in you.
Yeah.
And also gives them the safeguard to also let them see what you're like. But you have to remember that you've already got something of value that they want to be a part of. You don't know if they're going to enhance the value of your entity yet. So let them put the time in. I think if you are a growing filmmaker and you want to find a way to scale, don't feel okay to leverage other people's time. But just, I think, where the cutoff is for me, I think, is if I'm able to bring someone on set as a free first AD and they nail it, they should be paid for that. Yeah. Because they brought value. Yeah. If they've gone on set and they've not done a great job, but their attitude's correct and they just need a bit more skill and they need time invested from you to grow, then you don't pay them. But that means the relationship can continue. Yes. And if they screw up, then it's fine. You shake hands and you part ways. Yeah. It's okay.
So definitely be persistent in looking for someone like that as a mentor. But I can say this, the thing for me as a higher role now, as a mentor role, the thing that quickly distinguishes the good ones from the bad ones is when we have a difficult shoot and they're under difficult circumstances and they don't complain. And they still have a good attitude. So I there's this one guy, he sent me this long email. Right. I mean, I've gotten long emails, but that day I read that email and I thought, wow, no one's ever written me an email like this.
What was it about? What was the email?
No, just really nice, like a really nice email, how badly he wants to work with me.
Nice.
And I gave him a shot, and on the first shoot, it was really difficult and he had to do some terrible work stuff. Like it was not glamorous. That's the word. It wasn't glamorous at all. I would have really felt sorry for myself if that was my job for the day. But he did it with such a great attitude. I brought him on the next one, paying him. He did the same. The third one was so difficult. He had it was in the mountains. He had to be in the water. It was really cold. He had to run back to camp to go fetch some stuff that we missed. That we didn't back. This was a shoot in the mountains. So it was a really difficult shoot, difficult circumstance, and he just the whole time was so nice, such a good attitude. So I feel like as someone who's seeking a mentor, the way you write your email, the way if you could get a shot, the way you conduct yourself on set or with that person is going to determine if they want to invest back in you. Because now this guy's been on many shoots. Yeah. He's my go-to for a lot of things.
Amazing. So hey, man, he's built so much rapport with you that you're now invested in him.
Yes.
Because it's an exchange of energy. Time doesn't always mean like an hour for me versus an hour for you is not the same. It can, if someone is further along with you, it has more value to it. But I guess that's the reason why it's also, I think if you are in a position to pay for mentorship, also do it or if you're at least to dedicate time for free, there has to be some sort of exchange from the person that needs to be mentored to the mentor to make it worthwhile to pass down, whether that be money or time or effort on set. And like what you completely say, like knowing showing how tough you are, I think that goes a long way. It does, doesn't it? Yeah. Because you were so tough in the first couple of shoots.
Exactly.
You were like, well, this guy's reliable despite the circumstances.
Yeah. And I mean, there was one shoot where he was late. And for some reason, I had so much compassion or whatever you call it, like more empathy towards it. Compared to some of the other guys who, when they pitch up late, I know, it's not
It's that character. It's not.
Yeah.
It's something else. That's
Yeah.
happened,
So it really goes a long way. But just to get back to our point, like I really believe that if you are not good at business, you can become better. You're probably not going to be an entrepreneur extraordinaire, because it's still, there's a specific skill that I don't think if it was that easy, everyone would be that. But look at me. Like I said, when I started, I was terrible at it. Someone came into my life, a mentor, they input into my life, and it immediately made a difference. I still made a lot of business mistakes. For many years, I didn't have a reserve fund. For many years, I purchased gear that I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
Some of it was still against his advice. He would say, dude, you don't need those new cameras. Why are you buying it? I didn't listen because I was blind, whatever.
Gear blind.
Yeah, gear blind. But the essence of it is still that you can become much better. And eventually maybe you can later partner with someone who takes that to the next level. Because I know people like that. I know production companies. The one guy is the brain, he's the business. The other guy is the creative, and they like partner like that.
You do go further when the African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. It's so true.
Yeah. So definitely it's worth to pursue someone that knows more, and definitely obviously look at someone who has done it. And
Exactly. Proof. Yeah, just do your research, and I think either one of us are absolutely welcome. If you guys want to send us DMs on social to help advise you further in this, if you guys are stuck, just obviously hit us up.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
Next question. So for you, Jack, what would you say is the next steps for you? What's on the horizon? What are you aiming for as a filmmaker, or even as a businessman? What's in your vision?
So I'm one of those few rare people who, like I said earlier, I can't scale with people under me. I'm just not, it's not for me. I know for a fact that it's not for me. I'm either going to be a terrible leader, or I'm going to be very miserable, or like feeling super stressed the whole time. So I really believe that it's possible to scale myself by selling myself as a brand in a way of courses, digital assets. I feel like I am adding enough value, and I will be adding more value through a platform like YouTube, and get people into my camp who are willing to actually go the next step with me.
Amazing.
Get people to purchase courses, get people to, because I know I have my list, my mailing list, it's constantly growing. I don't, like I said, I don't believe you don't need 100,000 people to like you. You need 100 people who want to buy from you.
That's
need
it.
200 people.
Yeah.
You
don't need to have millions.
If you have 200 people who wants to buy from you, that's extremely valuable.
Amazing, yeah.
Especially, as you grow. So that's why I also believe that, like I said, one of the mistakes that I made, and that I'm really wish that I knew earlier, wish that I understood that you don't need a big following to monetize in this way.
And make an impact.
To monetize and make an impact and monetize in this way. Because at the end of the day, if you help 100 people, and I mean really help them, not only are they going to be better, they're going to be able to help someone else. They're going to pay you. You're going to make money from that. So I would say for me right now, I'm scaling as a single exclusive sort of brand person in the knowledge that I offer. I want to scale that to the audience, the masses. And somewhere in the world, and I really believe this, like just as we say there's enough sunshine for everyone, I believe if I put myself to the whole world, somewhere in the world there's 500 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people who's going to support me. And they're not going to feel like, they're going to feel like, oh, I did a good thing here. I bought something, I learned something. It was a good decision. That's how cool the world is. That's how cool the internet is. I'm not targeting my town. I'm not targeting my city. I'm not even targeting my country. Yeah. I can serve the whole world. So my potential in scaling as a business is on that level.
Yeah.
So the things that need to get in place are my systems.
Great.
So I feel like my biggest challenge that I've overcome now was getting my systems in place so that when someone purchases, that whole back end, my mailers, my list, that's all sorted. That took me some time. Now I can just start adding products.
Great.
Like everything is already set up. I know it works.
Amazing.
That's one of the things that I feel like you can learn those things. You can get better on the or get someone to do it. Like I didn't do all that myself. Like I could have taken the time and taught myself to do it. I would have wasted so much of my time. I actually paid someone to do it. He did it in 2 days what I couldn't do in a week. So
wow.
Yeah, in two weeks.
Yeah, lean on others. Try not to learn everything yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Awesome, man. Well, I'm sure the future is obviously very bright for you and best of success. If people want to get involved with what you're talking about, where's best for them to go?
So I always say come to my Instagram or my YouTube because I always have a link up there. I have a shop, and also on my website, just jaquecrafford.co.za. Actually, I haven't even put my shop on my website, but I have a shop link with all my stuff on there. But for more relevant, it's going to be on Instagram. I'm always putting, because YouTube is like a niche. Every 2 weeks, or I'll put like a YouTube video out, but I don't communicate frequently.
No, sure.
My communication happens on Instagram, so that's I always share a story when something's happening. Right. And then also just to add one more thing, I also don't do my courses where you open up to the whole world and you let everyone just do it. The first one is going to be limited. Like I'm gonna limit it and see what's the feedback. Yeah. And then give it some time, make some adjustments, and then open up to more people. As you should do. Some enrollment. Yeah. So
get feedback. I mean, that's something that I think filmmakers should even do. Even if you're as a business, if you're very new, just go out and just start serving people. Get feedback. Market feedback is super important. Because you may think you know what you need to do in order to scale and grow and know what people want, but when you haven't got data to support it, it's all guesswork.
Yeah.
And that's for just generally serving clients.
Yeah, and just be open. Be open to opinions of people who have done it, because it's such a common principle. But that thing we said earlier about being blinded by love, sometimes you can be so like you feel in the moment that this is right, it's gonna work, and someone says to you, Jacques, just watch out for that, or but you only see it once you've done it. Oh, he was right.
That's the problem.
And just test those. I'm not saying listen to everyone and take any advice. There's a lot of different voices out there, but like just open yourself up to the fact that what you're feeling might be more emotional driven and might not be the best business decision. That sometimes you need someone who's walked the road and who's walked the walk to actually like just test the advice and test it with other people and be open for the tough love, because I actually surround myself with people who constantly go against, like they would say, like even my wife will always challenge everything I say, and I can sometimes get annoyed by it, but it's so good for us as a couple. It's so good because if there was any holes in it, if her pointing it out and the thing still works, then it's going to work. But if she points it out and I'm like, oh, you know what, maybe it's not going to work. You need someone who's really critical, who's able to point out the holes and the potential.
The different perspective really helps.
Yeah, so be open for the unpopular opinion. That's actually what I say. If everyone's saying what you want to hear, and one person is saying that, just be open-minded and say that maybe I should just look into it a bit more and not just be like, you're the only one who's saying against this.
Such good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where do you feel your peak? I mean, have you peaked yet? Do you feel like you've made, like, what was your big break in business? What was the transformational, or like what was the amazing thing that happened? What do you think?
So there's two parts to it. I don't think I've ever peaked, to be honest, which is exciting. I know that I can still got so much more to grow into. The first part where I feel like I had a big break was not on a monetary level, but on a job satisfaction level. When the travel films started happening and I niched myself and branded myself into that market, I've seen the whole world, man. Like I've seen, at least on a nature perspective, I've been to some of the craziest, most beautiful, insane, epic places in the world. And I did it in such a short time. It was before I got married, before I had a baby, that I will forever, ever and ever and ever cherish that. And that for me was like a big success, because a lot of people want to do that, but they don't have the opportunity. And I made a living doing that, and I loved it. It was for me like getting from someone just stuck in the wedding industry, serving one country. I mean, in the beginning I was serving one like region, then I went to more local weddings in the country, and then I started getting some travel weddings. But for someone we went from that to getting like Iceland, Patagonia, Bali, Philippines, like all those countries
like
that I
dream
went
work,
to.
isn't
It was
it?
like dream work for me. And I really had the most amazing experiences that even to this day, I cherish and hold dear. So that for me was like a big break. But I still didn't really make that much, you know, it's just getting through, saving a bit.
Well, I mean, the big breaks, I think, don't have to be always defined by the money that brings it to you. If it grows you as a person,
I feel,
and it makes you, it's something that you remember when you're an old man. I think that's it. You know, that's it. And it's strange to think that after all that, you still think you haven't peaked. So peaked. You haven't peaked. So it's going to be interesting to see where you're going to end up, mate.
It's funny because I was in the prime of that when I met my wife, and I also realized that now that I have someone that I want to spend time with and eventually family, I can't do this forever. Then COVID happened, and that was taken away from me. Anyway, whether I wanted to stop or not, it was taken away from me, and that's where YouTube and all that came in. But as a business, I would say growing this sort of YouTube channel was a big break for me.
Nice.
Because for the first time, I started really seeing that it's possible for me to grow to grow more on a monetary level without having to employ a lot of people and take on a lot of work. Because I always get inquiries, like I just say no all the time. And some of them, they just dry up because you say no all the time. But my big break for me was knowing that I'm actually able to monetize myself as a person on a global scale without having to, you know, employ all those people and be like managing everything.
And those assets you're
me,
creating are still serving people. You've got something that's timeless and spaceless.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Which is what we all should be working towards as entrepreneurs, regardless of your industry. If you can create an ecosystem of products where at least one of them or two of them can be spaceless and timeless.
Yeah.
It's a very good model.
Yeah. So my big break would be when I am able to replicate myself in a way in others. Where like I feel like there's lots more success to be achieved, lots more money to be made, more fun to be had, but it's when I get to a place where I'm leaving a legacy. That's my goal. I want to leave a legacy.
Nice.
A legacy of where someone can build on and carry on. That if I'm not around, someone is benefiting from what I've done.
That's amazing.
That's definitely, yeah.
I'm sure you'll make it, mate.
No, thanks,
Absolutely.
man.
You're already making it.
No, thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. What's been your worst job?
Yeah. There's been a few. I mean, depending on the industries that I've been in, I've had some really bad weddings.
Have you?
Really
Weddings
bad
terrify me,
weddings.
by the way.
Hey?
Weddings terrify me. Like, we've all had those shoots where they go a bit wrong, and I think with a corporate client, you're dealing with logical people to some degree. The idea of screwing up a wedding.
No, it's traumatizing, to be honest. I've had cards corrupt. I've had someone
On a
losing.
wedding?
Yeah, I've had
no.
someone, including myself. Once I lost a card with all the footage on, never found it. The one time I found it, the other time didn't find it.
What did you have to do? Reshoot?
The client was really gracious. We gave them a free engagement shoot or something. They were. I mean, I got off light, but I have had some terrible experiences with weddings. But if I have to bring it closer to home, like more recent events, it was definitely a shoot I did in Cambodia. It was terrible circumstances and the budget was really low. And what happened,
it's always the low paid work, isn't
exactly,
it? It's never really a high paid job.
It's always the clients who ask for a bit of discount here, try and work out a deal, end up being the challenge. But in this case, we had a project. We traveled Vietnam and Cambodia for 7-8 days. It was a lot of fun, very intense. It's like run and gun, shoot. You're basically documenting a trip of 40 people. You have to interview them, but you get to do a lot of the fun stuff with them, see the world in different places. But then they also had this extra add-on video that they wanted to do that they sort of chucked in last minute. So by the way, we have this charity video. Do you maybe want to do this as well? You're there anyway. But this is the only budget we have left.
We're going to say yes, you're there.
So I said, yes, I'm there. Why not? Maybe it's fun. it was not fun. It was extremely challenging. We had to travel, I think we traveled for 7 hours with a car.
Right.
To get from the place where we did the last bit of filming for the official job, 7 hours by car. Then we got onto a boat, 4 hours on a river in the sun. It's like this little tiny boat.
Oh no.
With your whole camera kit.
4 hours.
The water's right next to you, so you're lying in the boat. You can't sit up straight. You're like just lying with your bag on. The boat's so noisy. It's like I feel like I was deaf for like 2 days after that. And you're just driving into the abyss, like into the middle of nowhere. Some of it was beautiful, but it was just at that time I was already exhausted after shooting 7 days back to back. I was tired. Yeah. And now I had to do this trip into the middle of nowhere, and it ended up taking so much more than they originally asked for, because the living circumstances were terrible. There was like no bathrooms, no toilets. It's just nature. We slept in a school in hammocks, and the mosquitoes were just killing us. It was a lot of, we had to drive out to different places to go film. Dust everywhere.
Did you have power at least?
We didn't have power.
So how do you charge your kit?
No, we had to charge batteries and everything before, but we didn't have power. Like they told us we won't have power, but it was like we had to just have enough batteries to go there. But we ended up staying 2 days and not 1 day. So that's the thing. It was going to be a quick 1 day thing. We basically spent two and a half, almost 3 days there.
So the shoot was actually fine. It was the circumstances around the shoot.
No, the shoot was difficult. The client was difficult. The client was difficult. So the circumstances I can deal with if the client's fun. I've had difficult circumstances. I've done stuff in Egypt where you're standing. I don't know if you've ever filmed in Egypt, but in the sun, outside in summer, it's stupid hot.
I'm from Dubai, so
you know, like I had someone standing with an umbrella over my head, wiping my forehead with those wet towels the whole time because I was sweating so much. But the client was nice, so it was fine. I was like, okay, this is tough, but you know, it's not the whole time, so let's get through it. But the client was difficult. It was really
it really brings the job down when you have a client that's not nice to work with.
Yeah,
that's why it's important to be picky with your work, isn't it? And have that reserve buffer, as you say, so you can be. But to be fair, though, you didn't know what you were walking into, and I think these sort of shoots they're not nice, and I don't think it's something you should try and obviously avoid. But they are quite funny when you look back on it, and I think that's the funny ones and the difficult ones are good because they, like you say, they humble you, and they make you appreciate.
It just got me.
Average shoots.
Yeah, man, it's like me and my friend who did the shoot with me. It's one of the things we'll always talk about and say, you remember that, like it's a memories, they stay, you know, you almost forget how much you suffered. But that was the time when I started thinking about when do I say yes and when do I say no, because they were offering much less than what I'm willing to work for, but I just sort of said yes because I think I can do with the extra money. And now my mind's like very much more ones and zeros about yes or no. This much time, this much money. No, not for me. Good. Is this going to, like, I just want to add one more thing. I feel like we're almost wrapping up, and I've been wanting to say this for a while. I really, really believe in working for free. Working for free can take your career to the next level if you do it right.
Yeah.
Some of my most rewarding and best paying jobs came from a job before that I worked for free. So I really believe in that. But you always have to ask yourself those questions. Like, is this going to make me a better filmmaker? Am I going to learn lots? Am I going to get real proper exposure to a new sort of network? Is there and am I going to enjoy this? And that's when I would actually say yes. I actually encourage people to work for free or to work for little. But now my mind's more like, I have my little list, I run through it, and I just say, no, thank you. Sorry, I'm not available.
It's good that you have that.
And just to add on that, now that I'm a yes, no person, where does all the no's go to my network?
Amazing.
And they're grateful. They're like, Jacques, thank you. You're sending me so much work. I mean, this one guy, I've sent so much work to him that he says to me, dude, do you think that maybe I should give you a 10% commission? Like for all the work. I'm saying no, I would never be able to do that because my incentive is not to get something. It's just, I'm not going to do it. I know you can do a good job. you do it.
That's lovely.
But that has strengthened my network because I send work that I don't want to do to them, and that at the right time when I need something, they're so keen to help me. I really, that's one of the parts that I wanted to mention earlier about the powerful, the power of a good network. It's a give and take.
Oh, it's good. And it's like I said, it's a give and it's a take sort of thing. If you can give back, you can also take sometimes, you can give sometimes. I think that's what human beings are designed to do. Help each other.
Yeah.
Serve each other. Yeah. Awesome.
Oh, man.
Okay. So Jack, if I stripped you of everything, you can keep your clothes on. If I stripped you of everything else, your YouTube channel, your skills, you are reset, what would you do? Knowing what you have now though, in your head, but you are no gear, no network, no sales, no YouTube. How would you still make it?
So I would do the same that I did in the beginning, but at the same time, I will start building the network for the platform for a means to monetize that on an educational level from the beginning. Right. So from the beginning, I would start. I'll give you an example. There's this one guy that. When did you start filmmaking?
I started when I was a kid, but professionally, I'd say probably 2009.
That's the time when I started.
Yeah.
Okay. So you came through. You saw the DSLR revolution happen.
Yeah, I was like EX1, 5D Mark II, 5D Mark 5D.
You saw it happen. There was this one guy called Learning DSLR Video, Dave Dugdale.
Right.
Like. I mean, I watched his videos, read his blog, and his whole mantra was like, learn it with me. Like, I don't know, let's learn together.
That's so good.
But he built up such a massive following. He sold so many courses. He sold assets. That's back in 2010, like 2009. I would have done something like that where I would have started adding value on an educational level from the beginning, because it also comes back as a business prospect, whether people buy your stuff or just you can get clients from those things. I would have done that, and I would have just kept myself busy with less distractions. So more business focused about buying gear that actually matter and that I need, and less distractions on trying to get applause from people on social media. Because now I know that even with less followers, you can get better clients and monetize it without depending on the views, but more about the network and the brand and everything around that. So I would, if it makes sense, but I saw this, people doing this, the people that I sort of looked up to when I started, they were doing it, but I didn't know why. I just thought, oh, this guy's nice. Yeah, Joe Simon. Do you know Joe Simon? Drop,
yeah. Sorry?
Joe Simon.
Rings a bell, but not super.
Okay, Joe Simon, he was the best wedding filmmaker in the world, but he quickly transitioned into commercial stuff, and he always had these blogs and tutorials that just before YouTube even was this big thing. It was before Peter McKinnon, before all those like YouTubers who were teaching film. He had it, and I was relentlessly following it, reading, learning from it, and looking back at it now, I was like, that guy did it from the start. He did it from the start. Like So I would have had this platform of, one platform is going to give back, one platform is for me to do this, but the giving back always comes back in some way. So I hope that makes sense.
No, for sure, definitely. So basically, just do what you did again, but just serve more people sooner, and don't be afraid of, oh, I'm not at that level yet to teach.
Yes.
Just know that there's always going to be people beneath you that would still appreciate the advice and just start.
Yes, absolutely. I've got a question for you. If you can give one honest piece of advice, something that you might not even share, or like one honest piece of advice.
I would say that the filmmaking journey, especially, I think it can only really be properly enjoyed and utilized in a independent freelance sense. But I don't think it's for everyone. And I think I've seen a lot of people come and go out of the industry. I think the honest piece of advice is that lets me take filmmaking off the table for the minute. Let me just talk about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship, I don't think everyone should be an entrepreneur because it's very draining on mental health. You have to outwork everyone, in my opinion. I don't agree with work-life balance. I think that's a stupid concept.
Yeah.
I think you enjoy your work and it's life. And I think you make it as a thing together. So you the balance, I guess, is dictated by you, but whatever you focus on grows. So like you're in a state of your life right now where family is more important to you.
Yeah.
So it's not about balance. It's just you're focusing on what you want to focus on. I think if you're going to get ahead in your career and you're very new, you've got to be prepared to work silly hours.
Yeah.
You've got to be prepared to go through a lot of data gathering, so tasting of life and doing things for free and earning your stripes. And it's okay to admit if you're not okay to do that, or you're lazy is the wrong word, maybe not as driven. So I would, if you're looking at it just from a money perspective, I would do something else. I think only do this if you are 100% passionate about doing this as your thing, regardless of what it pays you. But I think there's also no point doing it if you don't think it's going to be something that you're going to be able to lean on from a financial capacity. So my honest advice is really dabble with it, taste it. But if you feel like you're not prepared to work silly hours and really, really run with it and really enjoy it, even when it gets tough, I would probably look at alternative industries.
Yeah, that's
powerful. Because you can lose decades working in this industry and then really getting to the point where like, okay, I'm nearly 40 now. I haven't got a buffer. I haven't got this. I haven't got that. And I think in the end of the day, money really does matter. We don't talk about money enough. And I think we need to have a healthier conversation around money and business and the pains and the mental health around this industry, because it's one of the hardest working industries I know. We're used to doing 12, 14-hour days where like my employed friends just don't understand it.
Yeah.
And they're making more money.
Yeah.
So I think, have a very honest conversation with yourself and know that this is a grit game. You can make it if you are prepared to outwork anyone.
Yeah.
I think that's really that's the difficult conversation, the honest piece of advice that I would give.
That is amazing. I really, really resonate with that. And
what about yourself? Would you say that? What honest advice would you give?
No, it's exactly the same. I echo that. I feel like we don't talk about business enough. There's a saying that say money makes the world go around. It's true. Money talks.
Well, money gives you options, and
money talks. Like it really. I'm willing to do difficult jobs if the money is really good.
Of course.
And if the issues come, like, you know what, these people are really putting a lot of value on what I do. They are paying. I feel valued. Let's serve them. Let's. But ultimately, the whole work-life balance and the effort that goes into being a filmmaker or a creative or a freelancer or even a business owner, it's not for everyone.
No,
it's not for everyone. And I feel that I've had to learn that also over the years working with other people, to see people like you get that guy on set, he's all starry-eyed, he wants to work with you, does one shoot, he pulls out, he says,
and that's okay though.
And that's fine.
I think it's important to chuck yourself in the deep end, see if you swim, see if you like it.
Go for it.
At the end of the day, I think there's a lot of filmmakers out there that have a hobby that pays them.
Yeah.
This is a hobby that pays you. And I think if you're going from job to job and you're not prepared to outgrind and learn basic sales, marketing, business skills, like any entrepreneur does, doesn't matter if you own a bakery or if you're a dentist, freelance dentist, or whether you own an agency or whether you're a private chef or whether you're a personal assistant, you've got to understand the mechanics of how businesses work if you're a business owner. And a business owner includes just being a freelancer.
Yeah.
So if you're not prepared to invest in yourself and do those things, you're not cut out for this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you've got a hobby that pays you.
Yeah.
But it's not a long-term thing that you can lean on.
Yeah. No, that's very powerful. I really agree. Oh, man.
Cool. Awesome, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Same to you, man.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I hope you guys got a lot of value there as well. So, yeah.
No, I really enjoyed it. Thanks, man.
And of course, I think our details will be on screen with our social handles. So if you have any other further questions, then feel free to reach out.